Hello, welcome to the video. Today I'm going to do a short video about Pink Floyd and specifically the new Animals release. Just to get started here, these are the albums I typically listen to when I listen to Pink Floyd in the order of their release. Relics, long-time favourite of mine, possibly the first album I bought on the Starline label. So those of you who are not familiar with it, there's the label for it, Starline. Some offshoot of EMI, some sub-label or something like that. Let me just see if I can put this away. Oh, I'll put that away in a minute. Then I choose to listen to Metal, which has got this fabulous cover. I believe that is the depiction of an ear underwater. Of course, I listen to Dark Side of the Moon, as does everyone. Wish You Were Here. This is goodness knows how many re-releases this has had, but this is a fairly recent re-release. An original copy of The Wall, which I bought, I think, on the day of its release. And then I've got quite a fondness for this album as well. This is a reissue, The Division Bell, which was released in the early 1990s, I think. I'm not going to talk about that. But anyway, the album I don't listen to, one of the albums, is this one. Animals. Absolutely fantastic cover. I think it was released in 1976. I should gen up on these things before I start. Yeah, 1977 in fact, 1977. Absolutely brilliant cover. You'll all be familiar with that one. Inside cover's pretty cool as well. Some pictures of the Battersea and the pig, the famous pig. And then the inner sleeve has got the lyrics like that on two sides of a hard card. Inner sleeve, and the label is pretty much the same label as the new reissue. So the new reissue, this one, here it comes, released, or it's been remastered, so by, I think it's James Guthrie. I've got the sticker here that came with it, so it'll fall out of here somewhere. Bear with me. I think they call it the hype sticker. For some reason, I can't seem to lay my hands on it. Maybe it's in here. Oh, here we are. Here we are. The stickers actually got stuck to the inner booklet. So here we are. The 2018 remix. Heavyweight vinyl, 180 grams. Mastered by James Guthrie, Joel Plant and Bernie Grundman. Now, the first thing, let me just talk about why I don't listen to Animals routinely. This particular album, 1977 version, this album here, one of the things that I tend to do when I listen to music is I listen to music in different environments. And there are some environments where it's brilliant to listen to music. Say like classical music, you sit in the sweet spot between the speakers. Works less well in a car when you're driving around, or maybe when you're wandering or doing a run or a session in the gym or on a bike ride. Doesn't work so well. But some music, particularly rock music, pop music if you like, works very well when you're on the move. This particular album, in fact this particular band, one of the characteristics of the music, as we should all know really, is that their music is typically very expansive. It's kind of immersive. It demands, it's better if you're sitting there in that kind of sweet spot between the speakers, where you can hear all of the elements of the mix, where you can hear all the sound effects that Pink Floyd are renowned for using, and it's great. But the problem with this one the 1977 Animals is that it is not expansive at all. It's very different from the other Pink Floyd albums that I just showed at the beginning of this video, with the exception of the early compilation Relics. And that instead of, when you sit between the speakers, instead of the sound kind of taking over, you know, going way to the both sides of the speaker, so it's not just a centered image, goes way beyond the speakers and so way to the speakers and then beyond. Animals, unlike the others, is very, very congested. In fact, there's almost nothing that goes that you get a sense or an illusion that the sound has gone beyond the speaker. So it's very centered. It's almost like a mono album, but it's obviously not a mono album because there are some effects, some spread on the soundstage. But it is a very congested album, and also I think possibly because it is so congested, it's not a clear album. It's not a clear sounding album. So one of the things that you notice when you kind of really sit there and study, what am I hearing here, is you're hearing the voice very well. You're hearing the guitar, or really electric guitar, very well. Acoustic guitars not so well, other than Pigs on the Wing, the beginning and the end of the album. And but what you can't really hear is any clarity in the bass or the drums. The drums sound as though they're kind of recorded underwater. Really, there is no tick 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 or tis 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 of the cymbals. You just can't hear anything of that very, very well. So it just feels a very, very congested album, and so consequently, it doesn't kind of draw you in. The song. One of the things about Pink Floyd is that you get drawn into the music, but not because necessarily the quality of the songs, but the whole experience. It's all the sound effects and how the albums are put together. And in this 1977 version of this album, it sounds very well. It's basically the songs have to stand or fall on their own, and they're not always brilliant. Lyrically, of course, the album is quite famous because Roger Waters is well known, and justifiably well known, for expressing some social concerns within his lyrics on several of his albums. And I think he's always worth listening to, even though you might not agree with him politically all the time. He's always worth listening to. So anyway, this album never really got picked, except once in a while. I thought, well, Animals, I don't listen to that very, very often. Let's just give it another go. And I was forever disappointed. Anyway, this new release comes along in 2022, and this is the package you get with the standard vinyl. You get an absolutely gorgeous cover. It's kind of, I think it's pretty much the same perspective on Battersea, but of course Battersea's undergone a lot and continues to undergo a lot of development into housing. The inside is the same. The label is the same as I said earlier, but what you get this time around, you get this booklet, Pink Floyd Animals 2018 remix. It's a really, really nice booklet, but with a flaw. Some lovely images. The original image there from the 1977 release. Get lots of different perspectives on Battersea. Photographs taken at the time. There's the inflatable pig that those of us who've seen Roger Waters in more recent years will be familiar with, an inflatable pig that still features as part of the show. Although I'm not sure about the latest show because it hasn't come to the UK yet. And here you've got lyrics. So it's very different from the presentation of the lyrics on the inner sleeve of the original, but you get pretty good booklets. Now, I won't go through every single page, but that's a central image of it here, and that's the image on the back. Pretty good. Flaw with this one is that, and I understand the reason for it is that there was a dispute within the band, is that it doesn't include an essay or sleeve notes that were commissioned by the band But I think what the writer of those notes, people out there will know more about this than I will. I think basically he exposed a little bit too much of the conflict that was going on within the band, and maybe bigging up Roger Waters' role in the whole recording sessions, and just diminishing a little bit Dave Gilmour's. And of course, as we know, David Gilmour controls the Pink Floyd brand these days. So there's no essay in here, so I can understand why that didn't make the cut. But one thing that's, even though it's just a fairly full booklet, I can't understand why they didn't put some contemporaneous reviews. Some reviews from the period itself. So they could have got, could have licensed or got permission from the authors to reproduce some of the reviews in the music press that would have accompanied the release of the 1977 version of this album. How does it sound? It sounds absolutely bloody amazing. It's everything I said before about the 1977 version being very, very congested between those speakers. This goes way beyond the speakers. So you're sitting there in the sweet spot and you can actually hear the sound effects of, say, dogs. I think it is on the first track of side 2. Pigs 3 different ones. Here we go as a track listing. Pigs 3 different ones. I think it's that one, or it could be Dogs itself. But forgive me. You suddenly get, it's like a surround mix. It's amazing, and of course, this album has been released in multi-format. You can get a box set that costs an arm and a leg. That includes a Blu-ray and a DVD and a CD. And the vinyl. Don't know why they need the Blu-ray and the DVD. I would have thought a Blu-ray would have sufficed. Blu-ray players backwardly compatible, I understand. At least the ones I've got do that. So the sound is amazing, and you can hear the cymbals, you can hear the bass with real clarity. It's almost because the soundstage has been expanded, you can hear so much more, and you can hear more of Richard Wright's keyboards. All those little fills and kind of little mood pieces that he puts in that were kind of buried in that very dense mix from 77. So it sounds absolutely amazing. So should I buy the vinyl? And the answer to that is a categorical no. Don't buy this vinyl. One of the problems, I think, I can imagine a board meeting at Pink Floyd Towers or somewhere else in the record company and thought, when they first heard this remix, they thought, this is absolutely amazing. It sounds like a new album, almost like it's a different experience. It sounds like a Pink Floyd album, much more than we ever expected. It sounds like a genuine Pink Floyd album and not this really congested kind of mess of the 1977 mix, in my judgment. Other people will disagree. They must have sat there and thought, this is absolutely amazing. We can make a killing on this. So instead of charging, say, £35 or dollars for the new release, they thought, we can pitch this as almost like a new album. It's such a transformation. We're going to bring it out at a lower price point, which I think I paid £23 for, and try and sell it in volume. And I think they've been pretty successful in doing that. However, the pressing is appalling. Now, it doesn't matter so much if you're buying, a release from AC/DC or some hard rock band where, you might hear a little bit of static or a little bit of dust in the grooves at the beginning. But once the music starts, it's kind of relentless and it drowns everything else out. Pink Floyd's music is, as we know, is highly dynamic, lots of very, very quiet contemplative passages, all part of the appeal. And as I mentioned, that first track on slide 2, Pigs 3 Different Ones, starts off in very, very calm fashion, but there's so much surface noise. It's unbelievable. And there's a few pops and clicks elsewhere on the vinyl as well, but it's really, really distracting. And I've used an anti-static gun, which I've got somewhere around here. I've even put it through a cleaner, the vacuum cleaner, which I've got over there. And I was at the point where I was going to order a second copy because I thought, this is so brilliant. I want more than one copy for maybe a different setup elsewhere in the house. And maybe I'll get a slightly better one if I order a second copy. The first copy is still kind of good enough and get by with that. And then I started to look at the reviews on Amazon, which I'd not looked at before, and there are many complaints about the quality of the vinyl. So I think they've gone for a lower price point, and they've cut corners on quality, and that's resulted in an absolute mess of a release, despite the beauty of the package. I was watching, just coincidentally, I was watching this morning with my morning cup of tea, a video from, I think it's Mike at InGroove in the States. I can't remember quite where he is in the States, but he's a big record dealer, and he talked about this album because he was talking about the kind of the box set with the DVDs and Blu-rays, and he said that he's getting returns of around 40%. So people like us who like Pink Floyd are buying this album, playing it at home, doing their very best to get the best out of the vinyl, maybe cleaning it if they've got some cleaning equipment like I have, and they're still bringing it back and say it's just not acceptable for a Pink Floyd release. 40%, which is absolutely incredible. So, should we buy it? Well, I've already made my statement on the vinyl. Absolutely don't buy the vinyl. Should you buy the CD if you're a Pink Floyd fan? Unquestionably, it's absolutely brilliant as a remix. Fantastic. Somebody's head should roll over the business plan behind this, the release of this album, because it must be costing them a fortune on dealing with all of the returns. I'll probably buy another vinyl copy in a couple of years if it's still out and about, in the hope that there'll have been a repress and better quality control, maybe even at a different pressing plant. But yeah, brilliant album, great release. Buy the CD, not the vinyl. Anyway, keep listening. See you on the next video. Cheers.